The Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, the 5th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when he had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him any more, even with a chain. For he had often been restrained with shackles and chains, but the chains he wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him, and he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." For he had said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now there on the hillside a great herd of swine was feeding, and the unclean spirits begged him, "Send us into the swine. Let us enter them." So he gave them permission. And the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. The swineherds ran off and told it in the city and the country. Then people came to see it was that had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the demoniac sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, the very man who had the legion, and they were afraid. Those who had seen what had happened to the demoniac and to the swine reported it. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their neighborhood. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed by demons begged him that he might be with him, but Jesus refused and said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
On the surface, the gospel for this week is quite strange. It involves a legion of demons, a man with supernatural strength, some weird kind of compromise, and the untimely death of thousands of pigs. While exorcisms were not an uncommon aspect of Jesus' work, this one was so notable that Mark felt the need to record it in detail. The account opens with a description of the man. In his possessed state, he has become restless and destructive. He could not be bound by any means, and he was tormented physically and mentally at every hour of the day. In this state, he had moved out of civilization and into the tombs. Scholars and commentaries like to discuss what exactly plagued the man. Was it actually a demon, or was it something we now recognize as a mental illness? While this is an interesting debate, at the end of the day, the most important takeaway is that this man was clearly overcome and tormented by forces out of his own control, and he was alone. The passage goes on to say that the man approached Jesus and the demon began to beg and plead with him. Jesus, unfazed by the legion of demons within the man, allowed the demons to leave the man, enter a herd of nearby pigs, and drown in the sea. The formerly possessed man returned to his normal disposition. It's noted that he even got dressed and he was in his right mind. This amazing miracle, however, is not exactly celebrated. Pig farmers ran off to tell the people in the surrounding town and cities, and soon everyone arrived at the scene. Instead of celebrating and rejoicing that the torment had been lifted from this man, they became afraid. They did not worship or appreciate Jesus. They turned him away. Jesus, complying, gave the formerly possessed man instructions to go and tell his story, and then Jesus left. Despite the bizarre details of this story, it is a passage that fits nicely into this week's theme of in community with those on the margins. This is immediately apparent in the marginalization of the possessed man. The only known action taken by others in regards to his condition were attempts to restrain him. However, when those many attempts to restrain him didn't work, he was simply cast out to the tombs, where at least he wouldn't bother the living. This theme is seen again when the people, despite seeing Jesus' work, cast him out as well. The connection between the two is not immediately apparent, for one of them is plagued by evil demons, and the other one is the Holy Son of God. But both men were cast out for the same reason: fear. The townspeople feared what they could not understand. They feared both the bizarre behavior and superhuman destruction of the demon-possessed man, and they also feared the seemingly impossible and powerful work of Jesus. This fear made them judgmental and closed off. They did not offer to help or comfort the tormented man, and they wouldn't accept the presence or teaching of the powerful healer. Their fear made them turn away God. Our takeaway from this week's gospel is twofold. First, don't be like the townspeople in this story. Don't cast out people that you don't understand just out of fear. You never know what kinds of demons people are wrestling with. Regardless of the ailment, everybody deserves love and respect. Jesus models this perfectly. He never even hesitated when this man approached him. He instantly knew that the man needed help and that he could offer it. Everywhere you look in the Bible, Jesus heals and welcomes those who society has given up on. Despite demons, illnesses, or character flaws, Jesus accepts and performs his work through all who would follow and accept him. Think about it. Matthew was a corrupt tax collector before he became a disciple. Society certainly didn't like him, but Jesus saw his value and his potential as a church leader. He forgave a prostitute for her sinful life in Luke 7 without question. And he also healed lepers that had been cast out from society in Luke 17. He could not have cared less about the present condition or the past actions of these people. He didn't care that society didn't like them, and he didn't care that society didn't even want them. He just saw them as humans who needed his love and his help. Jesus sees the values and gifts in everyone, and he loves and cares for all that come to him. We should not be like the townspeople who saw only the parts of the people that make them different, but be like Jesus and care for everybody unconditionally. Second, I encourage everyone who feels plagued by their own demons or feel as though they are marginalized by society to listen to this story as a story of hope. The man in this story has an entire legion of demons within him, and Jesus didn't write him off as hopeless or cast him away. For those of you who are unfamiliar with military history, a legion of Roman soldiers was a unit that was roughly 4,000 to 6,000 strong. For us in present day, life can feel as hopeless and painful as those 4,000 to 6,000 demons. Regardless of whether your demons are from hell or from if they're within your own mind, they're very real. Society and those around you can create images and expectations that you feel you'll never live up to. You can be told that if you don't act or live in certain norm-conforming ways, you cannot be accepted within your community. You can be made to feel different or weird or even evil. But all of the hardship and doubts and disconnect we feel right now are earthly affairs. Humans are sinful and they're messy, and they tend to spread hate instead of the love and care demonstrated by Jesus. So I ask you that if you feel this way, have hope. A legion of demons couldn't stop Jesus. So whatever yours are, they're powerless to him too. He will always accept us if we accept him, no matter how broken we are. As we continue through this Lenten season and remember the great sacrifice of love God offered all of his people, I encourage you to internalize that act of love and then use that to look for ways to conquer your own fears and love those on the margins.